Kusangpo, welcome to Bhutan e-learning project. This lesson is accounting equation for Key Stage 5 classes 11 to 12. In this lesson, the objectives are 1. Identify accounting equation. 2. Analyze the effects of business transaction on the basic accounting equation. 3. Record transactions in accounting equation format. Now let us try to analyze the accounting transactions. Transactions are economic events that require recording in the financial statements.
Not all events are transactions.
Assets, liabilities, or shareholders' equity items change as a result of economic effect. There is always a dual effect on the accounting equation. That means for every debit entry, there is a credit entry. Let us now identify some accounting transactions. Take this as an example. Are the following events recorded in the books of accounts or accounting books? The event are 1. Purchase of raw material. 2. Salesperson explains about the product to a potential customer. And 3. Pays rent. So these are 3 different events, transactions in a business. They are telling first purchase of raw material. Second, salesperson explains about the product to a potential customer. And third, pays rent. Now see, look at the criterion of each of these transactions and then see if these transactions are affecting the financial positions like assets, liabilities, or shareholders' equity of the company. Is this getting changed? Is this transaction affecting assets, liabilities, or shareholders' equity? Now say first is purchase of raw material. Is this going to affect the assets, liabilities, or shareholders' equity? Let's see. Yes, it is going to affect, because when you purchase raw material, you are going to pay money to the suppliers. So it affects the assets side of your accounting equation, or it affects the assets of the companies. Next one, salesperson explains about the product to a potential customers. Is this going to affect or not? No, it's not going to affect any part of the accounting equations. So we do not record those types of transactions in the books of accounts. Next one is paying rent. When you pay the rent, when business pays the rent, it affects assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity. Therefore, this transaction has to be recorded. Once more, see the event. First is purchase of raw material. This has effect on the accounting equation. Therefore, it has to be recorded. 2. Salesperson explains about the product to a potential customer. These do not have any effect on the accounting equation, thus it is not recorded. And third one, pays rent. When a business pays a rent, it again affects the accounting equation. Therefore, it is recorded in the books of accounts. Now let us try to analyze the transaction. The process of identifying the specific events of specific economic events on the accounting equations are done by using the basic accounting equation. So basic accounting equation is assets equals to liabilities plus capital, or we say it as shareholders' equity, or sometimes stockholders' equity. Now, asset is an economic resources that a business use it, and then liabilities and shareholders' equity are the claim on the economic resources. Therefore, as the business performs the task by using the assets, the business has to pay to the liabilities holders and the shareholders of the company. Now, how the accounting equation affects when there is an business transaction in the business, when there is occurrence of a business transaction in the business. So accounting equation says that the assets should be always equals to liabilities plus shareholders equity. That means it should always balance. It should always balance. Then it says that each transaction has a dual effect on the equation, meaning there is a debit entry for every credit entry. If an asset is increased, there must be a corresponding either decrease in another asset or increase in a specific liability or increase in shareholders' equity. This is dual effect. Now, this accounting equation, assets equals to liabilities plus shareholders' equity, can be further expanded into this form, where shareholders' equity get divided into two as share capital or capital and retained earning. Then we again further subdivide or expand the retained earning into three categories as revenue, expenses and dividends. As revenue, expenses and dividends. This is expanded form of accounting equation. Now again, by using the expanded form of accounting equation, we are going to analyze transactions, post it in accounting equation and see how we are actually analyzing the transactions and recording in the accounting equation. So first transaction given here is on 1st March 2019, cash of Newton 650,000 is invested in Guangzhou Limited by investor in exchange for Newton 650,000 worth of equity share. So this is the transaction, first transaction in the business. So how are you going to record this in your accounting equation? So you can analyze now. Say cash is coming into the business and you have created the liability in the forms of shareholders' equity. So your assets in the form of cash gets increased by 650,000 and your liabilities in the form of shareholders' equity gets increased by same or equal amount. The journal entry would be cash account debit to share capital. So it is getting recorded on the left hand side of the equation as well as getting recorded in the right hand side of the equation. Here the capital is being introduced or the capital has been injected into the business. So capital gets increased on the right hand side of the equation, and since this is in the form of cash on the left hand side of the equation, asset in the form of cash gets increased by same amount, that is 650,000 cash and 650,000 capital in the business. So this is how you record in the accounting equation. Next is transaction number 2. Transaction number 2 says on 1st March 2019, Guangzhou Limited borrowed Newton 325,000 from Tashi Bank Limited by signing a 3-month 12% Newton 325,000 notes payable. This is the transaction on 1st March, and this has to be recorded in the accounting equation as it is an economic transaction which is going to affect the accounting equation. Now see, it's getting recorded like this. In the form of cash, 325,000 Newton will be increased on the asset side and the liability is being created on the left hand side, right hand side of the equation. Now liability has been increased by 325,000 because you have to pay this money to Tashi Bank after 3 months with 12% interest. Today on 1st March, you have again increased by 325,000 as cash in your business. So see, on the asset side you have 325,000 cash, and on the liability side you have increase in liability by 325,000. So accounting equation again is balanced. Third transaction. On 3rd March 2019, Gangchu Limited purchased equipment by paying 325,000 cash to Natsok Equipment Sales Company. This is again an economic transaction. It has to be recorded in your accounting equation. So accounting equation in third transaction is the buying of equipment on cash. So what happens here now? On the asset side, you have one more asset generated. Now one new asset has to be recorded. So far we have cash only. Now we have equipments, asset in the form of equipments. What happened? You purchase this equipment by paying 325,000. So your cash gets reduced by 325,000, and on the same side of the asset, your equipments get increased by 325,000. So plus minus, it becomes 0 here. So there is no effect on the other side of the accounting equation. This is how accounting equation gets balanced automatically. Let's have another transaction. Transaction number 4. 4th March 2019. Gangchu received 78,000 cash in advance from Mr. and Mrs. Tempa. So Gangchu received advance of 78,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Tempa. Again, this has an economic effect. This transaction has effect on the accounting equation. So therefore, it has to be recorded in the books of accounts. So see how this is being recorded in the equation, accounting equation. So the cash here is increased by 78,000, is increased by 78,000 because Gangchu has received 78,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Tempa. However, since this is advance given to the Gangchu Limited, it has a future obligation to deliver 78,000 worth goods to Mr. and Mrs. Tempa. Therefore, this is considered as earned revenue, not yet earned revenue. That means on the liability side of the accounting equation, your liability will be increased by 78,000 as earned revenue, and on the asset side of your accounting equation, your cash will be increased by 78,000. Both positive. So you must understand and keep in the mind that the accounting equation always gets balanced. The 5th transaction is on March 5th, Gangchu received 650,000 in cash from Dungsam Cement Company for water supplied. That means previously Gangchu must have supplied water worth 650,000. Now they are receiving on 5th March, they have received 650,000 from Dungsam Cement. So it has an effect on accounting equation. See how this is recorded in the accounting equation. So the cash in the asset side should be increased by 650,000, and this is now the main activity of the Gangchu Limited, Gangchu company, because Gangchu produces mineral waters and sells it. So it is a revenue activity for them. So therefore, on the other side of the equation, under retained earning, revenue has to be increased by 650,000, and on the asset side, cash in the company should be increased by 650,000. So accounting equation gets balanced again. Item 6 or transaction 6, on 5th March again, Gangchu Limited paid office rent, 58,500. So paying an office rent. Now they are telling Gangchu, from the Gangchu's account, cash should be reduced by 58,500, and in the retained earning, expense has to be recognized, and 58,500 should be again reduced from the retained earning. I repeat, 58,500 should be reduced from the asset side, from the cash column, and 58,500 should be recorded on the expense side. Later on should be deducted from the revenue. So this is how accounting equation gets balanced. Next, transaction 7. On the 5th March, Gangshu again paid Newton 39,000 for 1-year insurance policy that will expire next year on Friday 28/20/2020. So here Gangshu is paying insurance to an insurance company in advance. Now here on the asset side, the cash has to be reduced by Newton 39,000, and again another item of asset arises here as a prepaid insurance. Prepaid insurance is asset here because we are going to generate future economic benefit. The future economic benefit on this prepaid insurance will be till 28 February 2020. Another 1 year you are going to have some economic benefits from the insurance company. If something happens to a business, you will be able to claim for damages from the insurance company. So therefore, in the cash column, it is reduced by 39,000, and in the prepaid insurance column, it will be increased by 39,000, same amount. So both on asset side, one is minus, one is plus. So it gets balanced automatically. The 8th transaction is on March 6, Gangshu purchased an estimated 3 months supplies on the account for a plastic bottle from a plastic bottle supply company, which is Newton 162,500. So Gangshu has purchased supplies that can last for 3 months. It's worth 162,000. So again, this is going to have effects on the Gangshu Limited's accounting equation. 162,000 is a supplies, meaning it must be their inventories. They have purchased inventories of 162,000. So what happens? Supplies get increased in the asset column of the accounting equation, and this 162,000 is not paid at the moment. This new term is not paid at the moment because it is on the account. That means later on they are going to pay. So for this purchase, a liability has to be recognized here. A liability has to be recognized. Same amount, 162,000, they are going to pay on a later date. Therefore, on the asset side, your supplies will be increased by 162,500, and on the liability side, accounts payable gets recorded and the amount will be 162,500. So again, accounting equation gets matched. Next transaction on March 7th, 2019, Gangshu hired 10 new employees to begin work on March 15. So on March 7th, the Gangshu HR were conducting a meeting, and then they hired around 10 new employees, and then they will be working from March 15, 2019. Now, should this be recorded in the accounting equation? If not, why? If yes, why? Analyze yourself properly. So this transaction, of course, is taken place in the business. However, it does not have a financial characteristics, or it cannot be measured in terms of money. It do not have any effect on the accounting equation. Therefore, the transaction number 9 is not recorded in the accounting equation. So accounting transaction has not occurred for this transaction. Thus, we do not record in the books of accounts, and we do not even write in the accounting equation also. 10th transaction. On March 25th March 2019, Gangshu paid Newton 32,500 as dividend. Now the month has come to an end and they are giving dividends to their shareholders. That means they are incurring some expenses. So dividends 32,500, they paid in the form of cash. So asset is decreased in by Newton 32,500. So your cash column should present negative 32,500, and you are giving dividend to the shareholders. So shareholders dividend should be increased by 32,500. However, later on this has to be deducted from the revenue. See, on the asset side you have decrease in cash by 32,000, and on the liability side you have decrease in retained earning by 32,500. Again, the accounting equation gets tally. The last transaction, employees have worked for 2 weeks. Now on 30 March, the employee have been working for 2 weeks, and then they made or they earned the salaries of 260,000, and it were paid on 27th March. It were paid on 27th March. Again, the expenses has been incurred by the business. Here cash gets reduced by 260,000 because 260,000 cash is being paid as a salaries to newly recruited 10 employees, and this 260,000 is an expense. It has to be recorded in expense column and later on deducted from the revenue. So again, accounting equation gets automatically adjusted. Now all the transactions are finished. We have recorded all 11 transactions in this process. We have recorded all the 11 transactions. Now next step is to try to add up or do additions of every account heads in the accounting equation. Now here are the additions. You have to add cash column, you have to add supplies column, you have to add prepaid insurance column, you have to add equipments column. You have to add all the different accounting heads and get the balances down. You have to add all the accounting heads separately and show the total at the end of the table. Then let's see how it is being done in our example. First, see how the assets are being added. Cash, we have 998,000. Then we have supplies 162,500. Prepaid insurance is also added up as 39,000. We have equipments 325,000. So total assets here we have 1,514,500 as the total assets in your company. Next, you have added the liability columns. In the liability side, you have notes payable, accounts payable, and earned revenue, total of 565,500 null term. And then next addition is third part of the equation, that is shareholders equity. In the shareholders equity, you can see you have share capital of 650,000 and total retained earning of 299,000 on that date. So this is the summary of the accounting equation as a whole. If you see, total assets are equals to total liabilities plus shareholders equity, which is null term 1,514,500. This is the overall presentation of accounting equation in one go. This is overall presentation of accounting equation in one go for all those 11 transactions. Now students, this is your task. Take note of these transactions. Take note of the transaction summary for practice. These are the transactions. You take note this one. You can click it or you can write it, and you can take note of this one. These are the 11 transactions. You can copy all these 11 transactions in your notebook. Try to put this into accounting equation and find the balances of assets, balances of liabilities, balances of shareholders equity. Thank you. See you all in my next lesson.